Okay, perfect. So now that we've got the appointment and it's time to go meet our clients, we want to make sure that we are putting our best foot forward when we go through. So if you'll see, there's a listing presentation in here. There's also Michael Lewis and a couple other places where you can go to find listing presentations, and then try and make it your own, right? You don't have to follow the guidelines. If you don't like something or something doesn't fit really well with you, feel free to change it, because this is about how you're presenting yourself to sell their home. So we're going to pre-qualify to understand their motivation. We're going to position ourselves as the expert to win the listing. In the book it says, allow you to price the home to sell for the most amount of money in the shortest period of time. Don't be confused, or don't confuse that with, I need to list it for the most amount of money. Right? We're listing it so that it brings the most amount of money, which typically results in a median price with a bidding that goes up. But there's different scenarios for each. And then properly set seller expectations, which allows you to set the great customer experience. That is probably the most important thing, and you ask that during the pre-qual and when you're there on site with your clients. Find out their expectations. How do you like to communicate best? Is it by phone, email, text, written letter, face-to-face, whatever it may be? Which one do they prefer the most? How often would you like me to communicate? After every open house? Once a week? Once a day? Whatever it may be. But if you set that expectation and you ask those types of questions, what's your expectation for how many open houses we're going to hold before we lower the price? What's your expectation in general for holding an open house? Is it 1 to 4? Is it 12 to 5? No, I only want to do mornings. Ask these questions, because you don't want to find out in the middle of your presentation, or worse, in the middle of the listing, that you're not meeting that customer's expectations when it could have been negated with some simple questions up front. So when you're calling to confirm the appointment and get some details, you're also going to pre-qual with some different questions so it doesn't waste everybody's time. So there's two versions of the presentations. There's one for you to learn and then one for you to use. So we're going to go through the basic one that's outlined here, but as I said, you can make it your own. You can add things, you can remove things, you can do whatever, but there's definitely some things that you want to have in there for sure. So on page 14, you follow along here. Okay, that's getting into the listing appointment, so we'll wait. Here's a great little pre-qualification script on page 14. So you write the seller name, the address, the phone number, their appointment times, date, locations. Hey, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, this is Gabe calling. I'm just calling to confirm our appointment on Thursday at 2 o'clock. Make sure everything's still going. Both decision makers are going to be in the house. Do you have about 5 minutes so I can just ask some quick questions so I'm better prepared to serve you when I get there? Sure, not a problem. Or no, I don't have time now, give me a call back tonight, whatever it may be, right? So this is like, how did you hear about me? Where are you moving? What's your motivation to move there? How soon do you have to be there? Is it a problem if I sell your home really quickly? Like within the next 30 days? What happens if your home doesn't sell? How much do you want to list your home for? Question 7 is a big one, because you're asking for their value, right? And a lot of people overvalue their homes because it's their home, not a house. So that's why we're asking those questions, is to find out what they think and what's going to happen. So they say, hey, my house is worth 800 grand, and you get on and run the comps and they're all coming back at 700. You're going to have some explaining to do, right? You're going to have to be able to come with the market analysis, the Bay East information, so that you can help guide them to an appropriate price point. How much you owe. Sending a packet. We always send pre-packets to our clients, so we'll go drop them off ahead of time. We say, listen, I'm just going to run by your house and drop off a packet of information that will help you understand what we're going to talk about when we meet. So if I don't catch you, I'll put it by the door, yada, whatever it may be.
What's in the packet?
In the packet could be your track record, your statistics, where you sell homes, a welcome letter. Hey, my name's Gabe, and I sell houses, blah, blah, blah. This is what I do. Here's a list of, I want to say amenities, but here's a list of things that I do for my clients. you know, I'm professional, these costs are included. I sell homes at an average of 102.2% of list price. I sell them in 14 days or less, things like that. And if you don't have any of those statistics, use Bay East, use market statistics, and then work around your value on how you would beat those statistics. So the average sales price may be 99.8% right now, but you've sold one home and you sold it for 5% over listing. I typically get 5% more than my list price, right? And you're not lying. So you can do those things, but if you don't have any statistics to go by, you can show people because you're setting the expectation of what to expect from your value. Does that make sense? Okay. Do you have any questions before we meet? And will the decision makers be there? So these are all really good questions. There's 11 of them there. And then reconfirm the appointment. I look forward to meeting you on such and such a date. If they have limited time, why are you moving? Where are you moving? How much do you owe? How much do you think your home is worth? Do you have any questions? Those are 5 big ones that will help you as far as when you get to the listing appointment. But if you have the time to go through that, and these are pretty quick, easy questions, right? Even though they're open-ended, they're pretty straightforward. So the call should go pretty quick. So on page 15, any questions about that?
Why do we know how much they owe?
Why do we need to know how much they owe? Gary, why do we want to know how much somebody owes on their house?
Well, I think that it has to do with if they don't have money very much,
Yep.
they need all they can get.
Right? If they owe $700,000 and their house is worth $650, you might not be selling that right now. You may want to wait till the spring, right? Or if it's worth, that's going to determine if they owe 200 and the house is worth 8, then after everything's said and done, let's say they're going to clear 500 grand. Where are they moving? If you're moving to Fairfax, Virginia, you're not buying a house for 500 grand. It's as bad as it is in the Bay Area. If you're moving to my hometown in Fort Wayne, Indiana, you're going to buy 5 homes and 4 of them are going to be rentals and you're going to pay cash for all of them. So giving them that value and setting that expectation, that may be part of their motivation of why they're selling, where they're going to, things like that. It will help kind of finalize the picture. But to Gary's point, if it's, I bought the house for 300, and then 2 years ago I took out a home equity loan of 400 because my house was worth 1.1 at the time, and now it's worth 900. And all of a sudden you're like, well, that's 700 grand at a minimum, so you're clearing 200, but you're going to pay 60 grand in commissions, so now you're down to 40 grand. So that's why you want to know, because if they're really close like that, it might not be the time for them to sell. And again, the idea isn't that you are marketing. You're not trying to put a sign in the ground just so you can have a sign in the ground, right? If that's your marketing strategy, you should rethink it. You are trying to discover their motivation to move so that you can match that motivation to sell. And if they're in that point, you have to be the person and the professional that says, now's not a good time. We should probably wait until spring. And I think market values will come back and blah, 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 or whatever it may be, or now's not the, are you comfortable breaking even? Maybe they have to move. Maybe it's a relocation or something like that. But you'll find those things out as you go, where are you moving? Well, I'm moving to Chicago. Why are you moving to Chicago? I got transferred. When do you have to be there? I got to be there in 30 days. Oh, so what if we don't sell your house? I didn't think about that. Now you can start talking about that. How much do you owe? Well, I owe $650 and the house is worth $750. Okay. Is there a short sale involved? Is there negative amortization? All that kind of stuff. You'll have a better idea when you go to talk to them, and you can do your research before you get there. Good? Everybody got that? Okay, pre-listing packet. As an effective pre-listing packet positions you as the real estate expert of choice, the best person to get their home sold in the least amount of time with the least amount of hassle. So the pre-listing packet includes two critical roles: the pre-selling, which are designed to get sellers' confidence in you and to answer questions and objections in advance of the presentation, the pre-qual, and then saving time. Bringing in a strong pre-listing packet will make the consultation experience smoother, shorter than it otherwise would have been. So we are now going to go through, I believe, a guide to selling your home. So these next 20 pages or so is about the listing presentation. So this is something that you are going to, some of this stuff you can pre-drop before the meeting, and some of it you're going to, and you could bring it all to the meeting as well. But you've got some information that you can leave with them first so that they get an idea what's going on. So I'll just give you a minute. Can everybody read that? On page 16?
Yep.
So just go ahead and read through that. I will help you by taking the time to understand your wants, needs, expectations, etc. So I'll give you a minute to glaze through that real quick. Okay. So why is this important? Why is it important to take time to understand their wants, needs, and expectations, and returning phone calls and answering questions, being honest with them? Why is that important?
Setting a set of expectations that they can rely on.
Yep. Expectations, right? If you don't know them and you don't ask about them, as Henry Ford said, you'll hit the mark every time. If you don't know what you're aiming at, you'll be ridiculously accurate. Right? Because you just don't know. How about advising you on pricing and staging once they've evaluated the home to the market? Why is that important? So quiet. Such a
To be able to get like the best price for the house?
Yeah. Not only that, but if you're asking them about price and talking about what's going on, I made the mistake in my first listing presentation when the guy said, "How much were you going to list my house for?" I said, "Oh, I'd list it at $1,995,000." And he wants 2.1 million.
Oh.
Right? He got a completely overinflated idea of how much his house was worth and what he was going to get. And I had been talking to him for months. I'd go over and watch football games at his house. We went golfing together. I lost the listing presentation because I gave him a number. I said 1,955. He was like, yeah, okay. How much is your commission? For you, it'll be 5%. Those are things you don't do as a realtor, right? Remember, you get your four-year-old self out. It's like, why? I don't. Oh, well, how much do you think your house is worth? Well, blah blah blah. Oh, well, let's look at the statistics. Here's what Bay East says. Here's what the comps in your neighborhood say. What do you think about these homes? Did you see these houses when they were on the market, or this one that's on the market? How does yours compare to that? Because whether you like it or not, you're entering a competition to sell your home. So similar to if you were buying a computer, some of these people are going to hear my scripts coming out. If you went to Best Buy and you found the computer of your dreams and it was $1,500, and you're like, cool, that's a pretty good deal. But because you're frugal and you're looking after your money, like 99% of the other people, you go over to Circuit City or to Walmart and you're looking for the same computer to see what kind of deal you can get, right? And you walk in there and here's Walmart and they've got the same computer for $1,500 also, but it has speakers, a CD-ROM burner, movie making software, and a 3-year subscription to whatever antivirus fighting software. Which is the better deal? Best Buy or Walmart? Walmart, right? You get a whole bunch of other crap. So what are you gonna do? You're either gonna get that, or you're gonna go back to Best Buy and do what?
Negotiate.
Price match.
Right? Hey, by the way, they've got the same computer, but they've got $750 worth of stuff that are added. So will you lower your price? That is exactly what buyers are gonna do to your sellers. So as you're explaining that value. That's why you're not asking them, that's why you're asking them about price, not them asking you, what do you think it'll sell for? You want that communication to be collaborative when they do that, right? Okay. Page 17. Any questions on that, by the way?
Actually, just,
Yeah.
it kind of relates, but in my other life, I do government contracts and I also hire people for the government. And when I call up people to interview them, the first question is always, you know, like, are you available? When are you available? And then it comes down to salary, and I never tell them the salary.
No.
I always say, what is your expectation? How much do you want to make for this position? And sometimes people hit it right on the mark, and sometimes you're just like, wow, this person is way overqualified, or so you need to understand where their mindset is.
Absolutely. And people will do that with their homes.
Yeah.
That was my house. It was, yeah, another one of my stories that I heard from another realtor that he sold the house next door, and these people called, or the next door neighbor called him and said, hey, I want to sell my house, but he wanted 200 grand more. It was the identical house. It was just mirror image, flip flop. And he said, why do you want 200 grand more? You just saw we sold your neighbor's house for this. He goes, well, I have a spectacular breeze that comes through here in the evening. So people are going to tell you this, right? How do you handle that? How do you handle that professionally versus just laughing at them, right? It's like, oh my God, did they just say they got a better breeze than their, it's the only house, but it has this, it'll happen. So understand how to objection handle and bring people back to reality with that kind of stuff.
How did he handle it? What did he tell you?
I don't remember the story. The story was based on what people's expectations would be when they get ready to sell their home. But
How would you handle that? Just wondering.
I would go back to my comps and everything else. I'd be, hey, that's great. You're right. You know what? I actually feel that breeze. It does feel really good, and I'm sure you're the only one on the block that gets it. But let's go back to condition and location and things like that. I get it that you've got that nice breeze, but let's look at some of these comps, because I want to make sure, and then it goes back to their motivation.
Yeah.
Do you really need to sell? I've actually told clients that before. Sat down and do you have a price in mind that you got to sell the house for? Yep, I got to sell it for $510. This was a townhouse in Moraga, and I said, so I'm the 5th agent you've worked with. You've gotten 2 offers in the last 5 times you've listed it, and both were, one was at $410 and the other was at $425, and you want $510. Well, what are we looking at $510 for? So they walked through their reasoning, and I said, listen, I'm not interested in putting a sign in the ground. So if you're interested in selling the property, I'm interested in selling it for you. But we need to be realistic about price. Otherwise, I can refer you to another agent who, you know, will look at what they're doing for you. And sometimes you can be that bold with your clients, and sometimes you got to kind of walk around the, you know, the whole house and bring them back to comps and bring them back to reality that way. But you'll know as you're talking, and your relationship with them and how things work will help guide that. Okay, second page. Getting ready to list. This page helps seller prepare to list their house in details on price, location, condition, competition, timing, and how that affects property value. So take a read through there real quick, and we'll circle back. Okay, I like this page. And then there's a couple things on this page I would change. The 5 factors that affect market value: recent sales, comps, location, condition, competition, other homes that are on the market, and then timing. Now it says you can only affect 2, right? You can only affect pricing and condition. You can't change the location of the house. You can't fudge the recent sales, and you can't take somebody else's house off the market, right? Those things are out of your control. You can affect the timing to some point, right? You can advise to come on the market later or right now or whatever it may be. So we talked a little bit about the recent sales, being able to show the comps and what it's going to be valued at. Location, obviously in real estate, even if you're not in real estate, you know the 3 most important things of real estate is location, location, and location. Condition is something that you can affect. Now, one of the things in there on the bottom, that second bullet point says, I'll advise you in optimizing the physical appearance of your home to maximize the buyer's perception of the sale. You don't have to be an interior designer or that expert, right? That's why you have experts with you. However, it's not that difficult to walk in and see that the house needs new paint, or that the flooring is all jacked up and you need to replace the carpet. So you should have some idea of what those things may cost. And you don't have to say, you know what, we need to paint the whole house and re-floor. You can ask the question about, well, how much do you have for a budget to change the condition of your home? Because if we do a few things, we could probably get a sale more quickly than if we left it as is, kind of thing. So you can do things to affect that. But at the end of the day, when you're talking about staging or decluttering, if it's owner occupied, if it needs paint or carpeting or a new roof, or inspections, as you go through and get some of that kind of stuff, you can have those conversations with the seller. That's pretty straightforward, right?
I do have a quick question.
Yep.
It says of these 5 factors, you can only change 2, price and condition. But in here, the only place where I hear, like, where they talk about condition is number 3, but they don't talk about price. They say what will it sell for, but they don't specifically say that it's one of the factors. So where would that fall under?
It's kind of under a couple, so I would put it maybe under timing,
Okay,
because property values are affected by the current real estate market.
okay.
It kind of falls under 2, right? It falls under 1, 4, and 5,
Yeah,
right? The pricing, the pricing is gonna be affected by comps that are sold or that are pending, right? They're the most recent sales. They're gonna tell you what a house may sell for at this point. The number 4, the competition, is just like we talked about with the computer. I mean, if there's 3 other houses in that neighborhood that are ridiculously nicer, and they're selling at a price point of $1 million, and your guy wants or gal wants 1.2 million, you've got some negotiating to do and some come to Jesus meetings about what pricing should be, right? And then timing. This is one of those odd times every 4 years that we have an election. So typically in an election year, things don't move as quickly as they do in a non-election year, because nobody knows if it's going to be Oprah or Trump or somebody else in the White House. So you don't know what financial policies are going to take place. So you have to be aware that everybody is thinking that and going, oh my God, who's going to be in the White House? What's going to happen? Am I going to continue to get my interest rate write-off? Are they going to change my capital gains laws? Are they going to blow up all of the trade clauses and go back to what we had? All those kinds of things weigh on buyers and sellers' minds as well. So it affects it. So right now, typically, I'm going to say typically, I can't believe I'm saying that, but if you're going to sell in November, December, and January, those are not high volume months typically in real estate. What you'll see is really motivated sellers and really motivated buyers. There's just not as many of them. But nobody's going to looky-loo when it's 45 degrees outside. Nobody wants to do that. They're not outside in the first place. So people that are actually coming through open houses or want to sell their house typically are doing that. in the summertime, you get everybody and their grandmother. School's out, there's nothing affecting, there's no ancillary things that are affecting their decisions to move or not to move. Whereas in the school year or job year or holidays and things, it sucks to move around that. I had to move around that time when I came out here to California, and I was like, I'm not coming out till January 14th. They gave me the job in early December. I'm like, you gotta be kidding me. I'm not tearing my house apart for Christmas and New Year's and my kids and everything else. I'll see you in mid-January. Done deal. But in January, I was pretty motivated to sell, right? So now is one of those few times when you get around that election year where now may be a better time to sell. Because we don't know what's going to happen in the spring once they nominate the Democratic GOP, and if the Republicans say that Trump is still their guy. I mean, you don't know what's going to happen. So, and nobody else does either. So the market tends to do some wonky things, and it may not have an effect, but typically it has an effect. So that timing will affect pricing as well. Okay, page 18. Getting ready to sell, hitting the price. So this page of the pre-listing packet discusses pricing for the seller to understand the value of a well-priced home. To help the seller understand the pitfalls of pricing, point out that the graph may seem that the better pricing strategy is 15% below market value to get the most looks, but it also may detract buyers who are wondering if something is wrong with the house. So you have to help them understand how you price in the market and how that affects the speed or expedition of selling that house. So read through that real quick. Okay, so what's something you notice about the graph, specifically the percent of buyers looking at the property?
Just because the highest percentage of people looking doesn't mean the quickly affecting
Right.
it's sold, yeah.
And the percentage goes up. If you list it way over a comp, you're going to have fewer visitors. So the lower you price it, the more views you're going to have, right? But as you just pointed out, it doesn't mean that they're going to get the price they wanted. So if you've got a fixer-upper in a neighborhood that generally sells at $850 and you're asking $750 and it needs $100,000, $150,000 in work, then you might be priced appropriately. If you're offering $600, people may start to get concerned. It's like, okay, what's wrong with the house that we can't see? Have you done any inspections? What's going on in there? So they may look at it a lot, but you may not get a lot of traffic through and people writing offers because there's a hesitation about why it's priced so low. Sometimes that works the opposite. Sometimes and this happens with out of area agents a lot, is they don't understand our market, so they price it. God knows how they price it. But I've seen homes that are on sale, they go for like $600 and then the list price ends up being $775, or the sold price ends up being $775, because they have no clue what they're doing. So it doesn't, even though they may got a much higher price, it really didn't do their sellers any benefit because they didn't price well to begin with. So did they really maximize the value for their clients? Or did they just get a bunch of money coming in to look at it and bid up to this point and then they said, no, I'm out after that. Even though they may have gotten $800 for the house if they'd have priced it correctly and looked for somebody who may be looking for sweat equity in a house versus an investor. That make sense? And similarly, if you're over, my guy wants 2.1 million. He'd been on the market for 180 days prior to his listing expired. That's when I got involved. And I'm like, I listed at 1955. And if you price it there, I know we'll get the traffic and we'll probably get some bids up. Maybe you'll get up to 2 million, maybe low twos. But I screwed it up because I was answering questions instead of asking questions. At the end of the day, I think he got 2,010,000 is the offer he took. But he wanted 2.1. He was stuck on that number in his head. because I didn't have the skills yet to show him how to price. And the people that got the listing had the skills to give him a 4% commission. So they basically put a sign in the ground and said, okay, let's hope for the best and go from there. So keeping those types of things up in your saw barn, in your wheelhouse sharpening barn is always a good thing. Anything on pricing? That make sense? Okay. Page 19. First impressions in selling and what staging can do and what staging helps control. So take a read through there real quick and we'll come back and chit chat. Okay, give me your ahas. What in there struck a chord with you?
Odor.
Odor.
Yeah, that's the last one, open house I went to, the owner had actually just made bread.
That just made bread?
Yeah,
Smell.
and the house
Yeah.
it smelled great. I was like, cause when I walked in, I was like, oh,
Mm.
man, this smells
Like
great.
homey,
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Nothing like making chocolate chip cookies at your open house. Right? People walk in and go, oh. It's like, oh yeah, just take the batch out of the oven.
Right.
Right? You could, why couldn't you do that? Right? Yeah. Play some music on the TV or bring a little portable stereo, set a relaxing mood, something that invites people, right? I think a couple of my big ahas is 15 seconds. They literally will decide whether it's the house for them or not in 15 seconds. You can't make it from the front door to the kitchen in 15 seconds. And as we like to say, a house is like a spouse. You'll just know it. You'll walk in and you'll be like, this is it. Right? And it doesn't matter what the garage looks like or the basement or what the bedrooms look like upstairs. You just, yeah, house is like a spouse. You'll meet them. I mean, I looked at my wife, I was like, what? And she looked at me and was like, there's something about him. I'm not sure. It took her a little bit longer.
Isn't that usually how it is?
I think that's always how it is. So, but you'll do the same thing with a house, right? You're going to walk in and there's something about it. The situation, the layout, how it looks, those kinds of things. One of the key points when you're dealing with sellers is you have to move them from selling their home to selling their house. And that can be tough because you want your prospective buyers to see what their home is going to look like, not what somebody else's home is going to look like. You don't want to buy somebody else's home. You want to buy a house and make it your own. So those conversations can be difficult when you're talking about, and I don't necessarily just blurt out, hey, we need to declutter and destage and depersonalize and all that kind of stuff. There's ways that you can word that a little softer that still gets the point across, right? And that's part of what I just said. It could be, hey, we're going to take your home and make it a house because we want somebody else to feel like it's going to be theirs. So I love this giant wall of pictures that's going up the stairs that has your kids from first grade to senior high and college pictures and everything else. But that's probably going to need to go. Right? We need to take those down. You know what? You're going to be packing them anyway because you're moving. So let's take them down now. You don't need 5 chairs and an ottoman and a couch in this room. Let's blow it out and leave 2 chairs and a couch. Maybe a little coffee table or something. But again, you aren't an interior designer. So you don't have to know this. You have to convey what needs to be done to sell the house quickly and that you have a team of experts that help you with that. And those are your stagers and those are the people that come in and use, in the case of my buddy that I lost the listing, his home was beautiful. I mean, it was like 2.1 million, so it was up in the preserve. It was gorgeous. The guy was meticulous about maintaining his house, and his wife had a great eye for decorating. But there was a couple things that we took out and a couple things we added to make it look more like a model home versus somebody's home. Does that make sense? But those conversations, you can have those pretty easily. When we look at homes to sell, there's typically three things that we hit on. First one is curb appeal, second one is paint, and third one is flooring. Those are typically the items that are going to get you the most value for your money from their investment. Yes?
What is the first one you say?
Curb appeal.
What is that curve outside?
What does it look like when you walk up? Is it fake grass? Is it weeds? Is it rocks? Do they have a car parked in their front yard?
Called curb appeal?
Curb appeal. How does the house look?
Appeal. Oh,
Yep. So what does it look? Is there a giant freaking tree that has been neglected for the last 75 years and needs to be trimmed, taken out, whatever? You only get one chance to make the first impression, right? That's the first impression is when they pull up to the house. And if the first thing they see is the sidewalk's all bowed because the oak trees come down underneath it and things like that, that's something you could have changed, right? The appearance. And so that's something that you can work with your sellers so that you get that traffic that you're looking for. Make sense? So that's typically the three things that I look at when I go in. What's it look like when I come from the outside? Because that's my first impression. Number two is, what do the walls look like and what does the flooring look like? Because I can get money back out of those things. They're cheap, they're easy to do, and they're done quickly. If you have good vendors by your side, you can get that stuff done in a reasonable amount of time.
I have a quick question about
Yes.
that. A lot of times I hear from sellers like, oh, well, we have a pool.
Yep.
Does that add value?
What do you think? I don't know. How old are your kids?
9, 4, and 2.
9, 4, and 2. What's a pool do for you?
With more liability.
Okay? I'm 55. My wife is a lot younger than I am. I'd love a pool. So from a value standpoint, when you're looking at value of the home, remember it's the home you're selling, the house, right?
Yeah.
So I learned that, another painful lesson. Pergolas, out gazebos and stuff like that, who gives a crap? It's not adding value to the home. It added value to their home and their lifestyle, but he's got a 9, 4, and 2-year-old. The last thing he's got, can you imagine all the safety crap he's got to worry about? Because if the 9-year-old opens the door to go outside and grab something that they forgot, and the 2-year-old's like, oh, out they go into the pool, dad's not happy, mom's not happy,
Yeah.
right? So pools, gazebos, hot tubs, fake grass, real grass, it's nice, it's features, but the buyer is going to have to like it, right?
Yeah, and I try to explain that, but sometimes I need to have practice on a script or something
Yep.
about that because.
And it's easy to say, hey,
Yeah, they all say, oh, well, it should add value, right? I'm like,
not necessarily, because not everybody wants a pool. If you
Yeah.
pulled 10 people, 5 would probably say love a pool, 5 would say no, don't want a pool. Because it's more money also, right? There's maintenance. If you don't know how to do it, now you're paying somebody to come out and maintain it. It's an either or. But I stick to, listen, what adds value to the house is the house. The stuff that's all around it is nice, but that was nice for you and your lifestyle. A buyer may not want that same thing, so it's not going to add value to them. For instance, let's go back to my computer, right? If I'm at Walmart and I see the cam thing and the movie software and the CD burner and the speakers and stuff, that's great. But if it adds no value to me, if I just want it to run spreadsheets, I don't give a crap. That's when I go back to Best Buy and say, listen, I'll give you $1,200. They got $800 worth of accessories. I'm just asking for you to give me $300 off. Right? And that's how people buy the houses as well. So you can use that kind of analogy when people are talking about the breeze that just comes through my house, or the pool, or I got a jacuzzi, or oh my God, you should see what we did in here. We have a hideaway wall with okay. Right? Here's my guitar room. What if somebody's a drummer or doesn't like music at all, right? That the guitar room means nothing to someone. Okay, page 20. This allows the seller to ask questions about what they're looking for in an agent, including experience, how they like to communicate. We talked about this a little bit already. Any concerns they have about marketing and selling to ensure the presentation will address it and ease their concerns. So read through that real quick. So we'll walk through each one of these because there's, depending on where you are in your career, will depend on how you can answer them. So if you ask, what's the most important thing you're looking for in a listing agent, they can tell you what it is, right? One of the things that you can use, if they say, well, I'm looking for somebody who has experience and has sold, sells a lot of homes, I'm looking for a professional who will have these services, et cetera, et cetera. And if you've never done it, then how do you answer that question reasonably, right? Or how can you prove your value for that question? One of the easiest ways, going back to script practice, is, do you know the difference between a listing agent and a buying agent? And they're like, what? Aren't you just realtors? Well, kind of, but not really. A listing agent has X, Y, Z. And you provide the value that a listing agent has. So the professional network, the signs, the systems, the marketing, all of the people around that make that listing seamless when you go on the market. Versus, if I'm a buyer's agent, all I do is look at houses all day and I drive people around in my car and make offers on homes. So guess what I don't have? I don't have signs, I don't have a photographer, I don't have flooring people, I don't have landscaping people. It's gonna take me forever to put it on the MLS because I don't know what I'm doing in the MLS. They're designed to buy homes. And all you need to know to buy a home is a few inspectors, right? Everything else is kind of taken care of you because the listing agent did all the work to get the home ready for the market. So positioning yourself as a listing agent versus a buyer's agent is one way that you can do that to avoid, even if you don't have any transactions. I'm a listing specialist. What's that? Well, it's this. This is what I do and this is why I do it, and here's the network of professionals that I have to help me. Number 2, what prior real estate experience have you had? This is asking the seller, right? How many homes have you bought and sold? We bought this house in 1965. First house we bought, now we're getting ready to sell. So what might be their concerns with that?
Has the process changed?
Right? What the hell's happening now? What's DocuSign? When do I need to show up? There's all kinds of things that you can, again, ease their mind about what's happening with that. How do you want to be communicated with? Again, we're expectation setting. Some people like text, some people, I'm selling a home right now to a guy that's a veteran, I think he's a Vietnam vet. He doesn't use DocuSign. So his buyer's agent has to get a wet signature on every piece of paper that goes in a real estate transaction. I cannot imagine the initialing and the signing that this guy's had to do to buy a home. Oh my God, I would invest in a computer just to do it. But he doesn't, everything's wet. So understanding that part. How often do you want to be communicated with on marketing? How often do you want to be communicated with on showings? So again, setting those expectations. Some people want it, well, after every showing, I want you to get back to me. Or would you like a summary on Monday morning of what happened over the weekend? I don't know, right? Ask them those questions so you can set the expectation. And then what are you most concerned about in marketing and selling process, the buyer qual, things like that? Why is that important? Why is that last question? Please list what you are most concerned about in the marketing and selling process. For instance, buyer qualification, showing procedures, open house, possession, pricing, negotiation, and other.
Just to identify their points of like apprehension.
Yep. Right? What are they concerned about? Well, and this may depend on price point. If you're selling a $4 million home, your sellers may say, you know what? I need to see a pre-qualification letter before I'm letting somebody into my house. Because if they're selling a $4 million home and they live in the home, they have really nice $4 million house things, what's preventing some idiot from coming in and taking some of their things, right? So for an open house, what's your expectation? Do you need cameras? Do you need everybody to sign in? Things like that. So understanding again that expectation and being conscious about their needs and their wants, what makes them comfortable, because you are now representing their home. So you need to make sure that they're comfortable and confident that what you're doing is going to work. About you, the customizable page on page 21, how you will benefit the seller. So we're just going to briefly go through this, but you're basically going to put your value proposition in there. So if you don't have a value proposition, you should probably get one. Why should somebody work with you? Your expertise, your technology, your communication, how you interact with clients, if you want awards, personal. I've gotten clients because I'm like, oh, I can't go, I work with veterans in a nonprofit group that helps veterans with homelessness and home ownership and that, and people are like, okay, you're it, you're my guy. And other people, hey, you have blue eyes. Okay, done.
It's discrimination.
That's discriminating, not on my part.
I can't change my eye color.
Right? You can, they make contacts like that, right? What do you have, what colleagues say? Do you have, what do you call those things? Testimonials. Do you have some of those that you can share? So what provides value? You know, it could be from your mom.
So after we take this Ignite class, will we get a testimonial from you?
What kind of testimonial would you like? Did you show up on time? Were you prepared with note cards and stamps?
Interact.
Interaction, right? I've already recommended you. You didn't even know it.
Thank you.
Yep.
What did you do?
She doesn't need to know,
No.
right? Somebody asked me and I said something, right? Because I see what's happening, right? I have this saying that if you're 5 minutes early, you're 10 minutes late. That's my military, right? You should be here 15 minutes beforehand. So if you're 5 minutes early, you're 10 minutes late. That's just my book. So I show up and it's like, and
You're a
trust
Marine?
me. What's that?
You're a Marine.
I am a Marine, yeah.
Sorry.
So it's just who I am, but I'm respectful of other people's time as well, right? I'm not here to waste people's time. I have a schedule to keep and everything else. So if I'm going to set up an appointment, let's do this. Let's have an agenda. Let's talk about what we're going to do. Let's have an outcome and an action plan and move forward. I don't want to just sit there and talk to you. Maybe I do. You know, it depends on the circumstance. But that's just me. So yeah, if you guys come back by somebody in the office says, oh, would you recommend so-and-so? Well, I'm getting first impressions right now, right? I get it from class interaction, what you do, where you go, what you're doing that I don't see, because you're updating me on, hey, I'm doing this or I'm doing that. All that kind of stuff. So there's ways to get a testimonial.
I was just asking.
Yeah.
If you don't ask, you don't know.
Right? Closed mouth never eats.
Yes.
So now there's a video that we're not going to watch. But what we are going to do is we're going to go through the listing appointment. So there's 3 main points to the listing appointment, right? Greeting them, walking through the home, and then your actual listing presentation. On page 23, you can also see that listing presentation includes the CMA, an actual listing agreement. Go like you know. Fake it till you make it. Print out the listing agreement with the full intention that they're going to sign it. Because if you don't go that way, people will read and feel that, and you'll be walking out the door waiting for a return phone call. Go like you're gonna get it. And then what's the next steps? Holy crap, they signed the listing agreement.
Call Lloyd.
Oh my God, yeah, right? Call Lloyd. I don't want you to do that. Don't be in big trouble, right? What's your next step? Oh my God, you're gonna sign? Well, yeah, you seem like you really know what you're doing, and we're on the same page with a lot of this stuff. Yeah, we'll sign it tonight at 6%. What?
do it.
Okay, let's do it. What's next? I don't know. Shit, I'm just a realtor. I'd never been this far before. What is next? I don't even know. I guess let me order a sign. Let me get a sign. Let me call the sign right? If you don't know, then that's what we're here for, right? We're gonna know. So you're gonna greet them. Somebody give me their greeting. I'm Mr. Homeowner. I'm having a scotch right now, and you guys, somebody knock on my door. Good God, you're a realtor. Somebody knock on my door. Nobody wants to sell my house? Oh. Click open the door.
Hey, good evening, Lloyd. How are you?
I'm doing awesome. How about you?
I'm doing great. I'm just here for our meeting.
Okay.
Yeah, have a walk through your house, have a look and see what we're working with.
Okay. Yeah, come on in.
Excellent.
Wife's in the house. Right? Hey, Lloyd Steer from Keller Williams. We had an appointment at 3 o'clock. It's 3 o'clock. Is now still a good time? Sure. Excellent. Walk in the house. You've got the greeting done. Hey, do you mind if I put my stuff at the kitchen table? Because where does everybody feel most comfortable?
Kitchen.
Don't end up in the living room on the couches and the sofas where people are backing down and kicking the recliners out, right? And petting the dog and doing everything else but paying attention to you. Go to the kitchen table, get that audience, right?
If it's like Lloyd and he has a scotch in hand, I mean, it might be beneficial.
Can I get you something to drink?
Yeah,
Right? Let's go outside by the pool,
have another beer or something.
right?
If Lloyd drinks beer. Sorry.
I would not recommend doing drinking while you're getting the listing appointment though. But here in the script they use for the greet on page 23, hey, thanks for inviting me here to apply for the job of getting your home sold. You can be bold. Once you get through Ignite, you can actually take bold and become bold. And you can use things like, hey, I'm here to list your home tonight. When you yell at your kids or you ask them to do something, do you say, hey, Gabe, unload the dishwasher? Or do you say, unload the dishwasher? Right? You're talking to them. Unload the dishwasher. I am here tonight to list your home. Oh, shit. Okay.
So what is the main difference between Ignite and Bold?
Ignite is how to launch your business and get you to the capping. Bold will take you to an entire another level. If you think these numbers here, I'm sorry, you're getting kicked out of Bold. You won't be in Bold. You have to make 100 contacts a week. You have to commit to getting appointments and listings and buyers. It's bold for a reason, right? It's because you're being a realtor and you're kind of hanging out. Bold is a whole nother animal of accountability, which is why you have to go through here first. Because we at least got to set the foundation for how to build the business and make you a capper. Then we can take you to the next stratosphere and give you even more tools and more accountability to hit numbers. And it costs money. I think it's $800. But after you do 2 transactions, they'll reimburse you. Okay, so step 2, walking through the home. There we go. Kitchen table is the best place for the presentation because the sellers are most relaxed and friendly. Do you mind if I set my things down in the kitchen? You're going to have a home tour checklist, right? Now, there's a couple ways you can go about this. And I don't have to read all this. You guys can read through the book. You should be reading through the book as homework, before you come to class kind of thing. So, a lot of people, you walk in, you get that, hey, can I set my stuff down here at the kitchen table, yada, yada. Hey, do you want something to drink? No, I'm good. Just drink a quart of water, I'm fine. Whatever it is, so you're getting ready to sit down, and they kind of look at you. So, well, do you want to see the house? And most realtors will go, yeah, why don't you show me around? And they show you around the house, and they go through all the nooks and crannies, and you spend 30 minutes in the garage so that he can explain that cool built-in workbench that he did that your buyers are going to rip out anyway. And then you go in the backyard, and there's, oh my God, look at these 14 fruit trees that we put up. They're all 14 different kinds of fruits that cross-pollinate. There's an olive tree over here as well, and you don't give a crap Because your buyers are gonna tear out all of the trees anyway because they want a pool. So you can do it that way and walk around, and that's courteous and kind and things like that. Or you can come back and say, before we get started, I have a little form that I need you to fill out. It's just my seller's list. Just make sure all the information is correct, your names, your phone numbers, your emails, and things like that. And I'm gonna take 5 minutes and run around the house so that I can see the house through the eyes of a buyer. Because I need to get that first impression of what a buyer is going to think. Would that be okay? And most of them will go, yeah. It's like, you need it? No. I